Something I seem to almost never utilize when playing through New Vegas is any of the placeable explosives, whether it be bottle cap mines, frag mines, satchel charges, pretty much anything. I just seem to always avoid them or just sell them off for profit. So that's why today I wanted to ask if you can beat Fallout New Vegas with only mines. Jumping right in, I named my character and then set off to assign special points, focusing mostly on perception so that I could get the bonus to my explosive skill. Of course, I took explosives, medicine, and for some reason I chose sneak as well on my tag skills. Still not sure about that one. For traits, I went with skilled and bring it on, which reduces my defense as well as enemies' defenses, and headed out into Good Springs. So this run kind of scared me to begin with because I wasn't entirely sure if merchants actually sold frag mines or not, or really any type of mine, and I didn't really feel like playing looting simulator and only crafting things, but we'll get to that later. Of course, I headed off right to Chet to see what he was selling, and I was disappointed to find that he had no explosives for sale, but I luckily did manage to see that you can craft satchel charges. So I headed back to Chet in search of supplies to craft a satchel charge. He ended up having a sensor module which I needed to craft one, so I bought that up and immediately went and crafted a singular satchel charge. Didn't feel like resetting at this point, but I went off and used my powder charges to kill Bart and Thorn, as well as a couple powder gangers so that I could get some easy experience early on since I would need it. I stopped by Prim as well to pick up the handful of frag mines that are guarding the little bridge over into the town because I would need those later as well. I tried buying some more explosives from the traveling traders at Mojave Outpost, but had zero luck, so I took a job from Ranger Jackson to go kill some ants. This probably wasn't the smartest choice, as this ended up costing me every single explosive that I had at the moment, but I needed the experience and I got some stuff to sell from Ranger Jackson so that I could go back and start restocking on explosives. With that in mind, I headed back to Chet to hopefully pick up some more supplies for either crafting satchel charges, or in the rare case that he actually stocks a frag mine, I would buy that as well. Once I'd grabbed, pretty much everything I could without wasting too much time, I headed off to the NCRCF for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I started working with the powder gangers, which involved killing some people as well as ending up dissuading a merchant from sticking around that happened to be a bounty hunter. I ended up instigating him during our conversation enough that I could just hit him with a mine and steal his shit to sell, and went back to Eddie, who wanted me to figure out if the NCR were going to attack the prison. It was at this point that I decided to pull an Uno reverse and just help the NCR this time, because I thought it would be funny to just waltz into the prison while the soldiers were shooting everyone and start looting people. I did have to waste my only frag mines though on Eddie and his group of peeps inside, but with all their corpses I got enough stuff to sell that I could head back to Chet and comfortably spend some time stocking up. This is the most time I've ever spent stocking up in a run. I spent more time waiting for merchants to restock in this run than I did actually playing the game. So as you see, New Vegas starts you out in October, and when we get to the end of the run, you'll probably be surprised by what the date is. So, after grabbing as many explosives as I could, I headed up to Black Mountain because I wanted to kill Tabitha for some easy experience. I ended up killing myself here a couple times, or just not having enough explosives to kill Tabitha, so it was pretty annoying. I did eventually get a good run after blowing my limbs off or dying multiple times, where I finally killed her and I took her stuff so that I could loot everything and level up. I went over to 187 Trading Post for some reason and just kind of stood there looking at the view for a little while. I didn't have any explosives at this point, so I ran past pretty much every fight on the way to the Gunrunners, who I was hoping I could get some frag mines from. They didn't have any. I had one singular mine to my name at this point, so I stopped to buy pretty much everywhere I could to get some explosives. The Silver Rush I knew would be a good backup because they have a metric shit ton of plasma mines just laying around, and I also wanted to work for them while I was here because this mission requires you to do absolutely nothing, and somebody stops by eventually that's carrying some C4, which I would be taking for myself because, it's a placeable explosive. Little did I know you needed a detonator for C4, so I couldn't actually use it. Also, I found a really annoying glitch that was going on with my New Vegas this run, which made plasma mines completely worthless. If I threw one, it immediately glitched through the floor. Well, with plasma mines completely worthless, I went back and restocked some more, which is mostly all I did this run, and then headed off towards the Boomers because I vaguely remember there being a merchant there that sold explosives, which I was correct about. I checked to see if he sold anything for crafting explosives, but he didn't. Lucky for me though, he can roll a pretty damn good amount of frag mines in his inventory at some point, so I took one back and killed Old Ben before heading into the strip to deal with the Omertas, as I was going to be siding with Yes Man this run, as I really did not feel like doing anything more complicated. I also stopped over by the tops, where I promptly threw a nice little explosive device across the couch at Benny and blew him up over the table. Don't take that out of context. I made sure to talk to Yes Man so that I could move him outside the tops, which would give me ease of access later, and then when I got outside, I ended up blowing up Vulpes and the NCR messenger at the exact same time, which was a happy accident. I also threw a nice little present at Mr. House because I needed him out of the way, and headed over to the White Gloves to get rid of all of them with the small amount of explosives that I had left. It was at this point that I realized that C4 also didn't work, as I ran out of frag mines while I was in here just trying to kill the regular White Gloves that were whacking me with their stick. Ran into the problem of pulse mines falling through the floor again when I was trying to kill Mortimer with them. Yeah, that didn't work either. And it was right here that I found out that C4 doesn't blow up when people step over it. I needed a detonator, which I was not willing to buy for this run because it's not a frag mine, and I don't think that detonating an explosive counts as it being a regular mine. So it was back to the boomers to start stocking up again. I sat here for a total of an hour and a half at the boomers stocking up this entire run. I spent so much goddamn time stocking up that by the time I was nearly done with the run, it was almost February. New Vegas starts in the end of October. I went clear to about mid-February on this run, which was just absolutely insane. That's how long it took me to get frag mines because of how often the boomers decided to stock them. It was almost never, so I was stuck there resetting multiple times, but with that out of the way and a good amount of frag mines in my inventory, I went back to the White Gloves and dealt with them, went over to the Great Khans and placed some preliminary traps before setting off one directly at Papa Khan and killing pretty much everyone else inside. I ended up going through more mines than I was realistically comfortable with the Great Khans, but, you know, sacrifices have to be made. I also killed some people outside because it would be necessary for the quest to complete, and then it was off to the Brotherhood. Yeah, I was not willing to sit at the boomers for another 2 hours restocking, so I only killed the people that came out to greet you when you accidentally discover the bunker, and then moved on with my life because I really was losing my sanity at this point. This is the longest I've ever spent on a New Vegas run, just sitting here restocking on items, and it's just absolutely not fun. I was not enjoying myself at all during this run. This is probably the worst run I've ever done, just simply for this, just for the restocking. It sucked all of the fun out of the run, and I was pretty much fed up with it at this point. So I went back to the Lucky 38, had Yes Man insert himself into the mainframe, and then watched the Securitrons be upgraded, which is, as we all know, my favorite part of New Vegas. I committed another war crime by bombing a whole group of soldiers with one singular frag mine at the Eldorado substation, and started the second battle of Hoover Dam with a bang. Literally, I walked up to a group of Great Khans and just threw a mine at them and killed them all. The NCR heavy troopers were a pain in the ass, but I did eventually manage to kill them all, as well as a random NCR trooper that ran at me from down the hallway. I blew up the dam because I didn't go to the fort, as I was fed up with this run and didn't feel like walking there. I ran past pretty much everything else on the way to the Legate's camp because by this point I only had 15 mines with a couple other assorted ones in my inventory, and I still had to take out the guards inside, which was actually pretty funny. My first attempt at the Legate, I just set down a massive pile of frag mines with everything I had in my inventory. He walked over it and took about 10% of his health and damage and then knocked me over. So I reloaded a save to try again. Had to spend a couple attempts blowing up the guards that didn't cost me more than a couple frag mines, and made it back to the Legate, where I decided that one mine at a time would be the route to go here, because I didn't really feel like missing and reloading a save again. He took a while to go down, and I nearly died a couple times because he hit me into a corner, but he did eventually die to a frag mine, and that was that. Once that was done, I showed him what I felt of doing all this to him, and went over to deal with General Lee Oliver arriving at the dam. Once I'd talked to him and pissed him off enough, I let the Securitrons just deal with the NCR because I had 3 frag mines left and wasn't confident in my ability to survive. And with that, I beat Fallout New Vegas with only mines. As always, leave suggestions in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out the Patreon if you feel like supporting the channel that way, and I appreciate you guys being patient with me taking the weekend off due to some personal reasons. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you guys for the continued support.